What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. And today I want to talk to you about the price of free games. I want to talk about free-to-play games on iOS, on PC, everywhere. And I want to talk about why this model is good and why it's bad, when it works and when it doesn't, when it's moral and when it's not. Now, before I start doing that, though, I want to give a shout out to Jim Sterling of Jimquisition. He created a video today, and the video is called Free to Wait. And he talks about free-to-play games that require a time component, and this video is very heavily influenced by that. So if you'll check the link below, I've listed a link to that episode. I'd love it if you check it out. But if you don't want to watch it, I'll summarize it here as we go on. Now, there are a lot of free-to-play games out there, and some of them are absolutely fantastic. In fact, the most popular game in the world right now, being played by the most players and watched by the most people, is a free-to-play game, and that's League of Legends. Some of my favorite games are free-to-play. Hearthstone immediately comes to mind. The game Loadout, which is a free-to-play arena shooter, immediately comes to mind. And there's a variety of different ways to play for free. And I want to talk about all of those different business models. I want to talk about the good ones and the bad ones, and I want to shit all over the guys who'll take advantage of you. Now, there are three common free-to-play models that you'll see out there. Some are better than others. My favorite is the system in which they give you an almost entirely complete game, but allow you to buy access to perks inside the game. Whether this is new skins for your character, new models, new ways of looking at things, extra inventory space, things that are not necessary to play the game, but are just kind of nice to have. And examples of this are Path to Exile, the new game I've been playing, Loadout, League of Legends. All of these systems allow you to buy in-game perks to just look cool, to feel cool, to show that you support the game. And oftentimes these systems have absolutely no effect on gameplay whatsoever, and that is the perfect model, because even somebody who doesn't have very much money, who can only afford to give $5 or $10 to the system, is capable of playing that game, playing with his friends, and having a great time doing it. If you can afford the system it plays on, you can play, and that's perfect. The second system that we see a lot is earning in-game currency that can then be used to buy those perks or even elements of the game. Hearthstone is a perfect example of this. As you play, you'll earn gold, and you can use that gold to craft cards, or you can use it to buy cards, to buy boosters, and use those cards to craft other ones. But it gives you access to those cards that you'll eventually get, and of course, you can straight up buy in-game gold. Now, this system is not as great as the original one because it does greatly encourage spending. It allows you to bypass a lot of the wait and a lot of the grind, and some people have taken a big advantage of this system. I'm looking at you, Forza 5. I'm looking at you, Gran Turismo 6. But I digress. For the most part, the system works. It's frustrating. Sometimes we get frustrated with a game and we just want to buy that new content. A lot of the times the game itself is not that interesting, and a lot of the times they'll put too much grind there, but it's a much better system than free-to-wait. Now, the free-to-wait system, as Jim put it, is any game that puts a time wall between you and the content. Just a not playing wall, not actively participating, but simply waiting. The most famous example of this is Farmville, and the most notorious example of this is Clash of Clans and the new Dungeon Keeper, who basically put you through a 24, 48, 1-week paywall to achieve time wall to achieve anything you want to do. And you can bypass those time walls, of course, for spending a little in-game currency, and most of the time that special in-game currency can only be bought with real-life cash. The gems in Dungeon Keeper, that's why they're green, kids. The problem with the free-to-wait system is that it's exploitive. The reason it's exploitive is because most of the time when you pay to bypass that time wait, the only thing that's there for you afterwards is more waiting, more spending money to bypass time. I myself have played Dungeon Keeper for the last week and a half, and I can tell you that every time I mine a block, the next thing to do is to mine another block. Every time I upgrade a building, the next thing to do is upgrade another building. The waiting never stops. The bypassing never stops. I could spend $1,000 on Dungeon Keeper and make it to the top end of the game, but there is no game. Certainly not a game as good as Hearthstone, and certainly not a game as complex and deep as Dota 2 or League of Legends. And it's not that time is an inherently flawed mechanic. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of my 3DS, and the 3DS has a completely free game called Meat Plaza. And in Meat Plaza, you can collect puzzle pieces and you can do the find me system. And every time you play the game, you have to get a street pass first. And you can only street pass someone once every 8 hours. So I can only play this game once every 8 hours. Alternatively, I can spend play coins, which are earned by activating the pedometer, by walking with having it in your pocket. But you can only get 10 play coins a day. But I love the games because the games are developed and rich and perfect. And even though my wife once jokingly said, I wish I could just buy play coins, the reality of it is Nintendo's not interested in taking advantage of us that way. Free-to-play is not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be taken advantage of, and a lot of developers are. And I really hope that you decide to be careful when you're treading the waters of those kinds of developers. Free-to-play is very rarely that. There are a handful of developers out there who will give you a fun and complete game and hope that you spend money of your goodwill. There are a handful of people that will put you on a treadmill and make that treadmill so fucking long that the only way to bypass it is to spend money. And there are people that will put a time wall or a paywall between you and the actual game. The truly evil people are the people that aren't developing a real game at all. They're literally just creating an endless loop of grinding away or an endless loop of waiting your life away to literally achieve nothing. And I know all gaming is nothing, but you should at least have some level of satisfaction or enjoyment from the game that you fucking play. And I've played Dungeon Keeper for a week and a half every single chance I got, and I haven't enjoyed a single fucking second of it. Buying $99 for the gems, by the way, EA, is not going to make that game any better. Some people will say to me, Boogie, I don't understand the problem. If I want to spend money in these games, why can't I? Where's the harm? The harm is to people like me and everybody else around you who don't have unlimited funds, who aren't willing to funnel money into a video game they have either just bought or they've downloaded from the iOS to bypass and get exploited. Okay, you are being taken advantage of when you spend money on Candy Crush. You're being taken advantage of when you buy coins in Plants vs. Zombies 2, when you buy donuts in Simpsons Tapped Out, or when you buy gems in Dungeon Keeper. You are being taken advantage of. And the more you let them take advantage of you, the more of a sucker you seem, the more games like this are going to come down the pipe, and the more damaging it is to the entire system. It is a bubble, and that bubble is about to burst. And you, sir, are using your cash and your credit card as the sharp little implement that's poking that bubble in the side. So tonight, I want to ask you, no, I want to beg you to be responsible with your money. Do not put your money into the pockets of people who would exploit your impatience, who would exploit your willingness to want to succeed, who will punish you for having a credit card tied to your Steam account or tied to your iOS account. And instead, reward the people who give you complete, fun, awesome to play games that sell you cosmetic changes or slight changes or access to new stuff for just a slight charge. Support the guys who are good in free-to-play and punish the guys who aren't. Because every time you buy donuts and Simpsons Tapped Out, every time you buy gems and Dungeon Keeper, every time you buy extra lives or power-ups in Candy Crush, you are doing harm to both me and you. This is something that we deserve. Free-to-play is a good business model as long as you don't let fuckers like that rob us. So please, be responsible with your money. Or this is just another cool thing we gamers are going to have to say goodbye to.